We got blower fan, we got all 3 speeds back. And it smells right nasty. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are working on the Chrysler New Yorker's chassis electrical system. We're going to push-pull all the knobs and switches and levers in here, and we're going to see what lights the car up or see which wire's catching fire. Let's begin. So before we even start and put the battery in, we already have a problem. So as you can see, our battery tray looks a little holey. Fortunately, they do stamp new ones every day, so we're going to have to put that on the shopping list. The next thing on the shopping list is the battery terminals. I absolutely detest these types. Okay, these are the ones where you simply undo a couple of bolts and you can pull off the whole thing and you can jam copper wire in there, clamp it down, you're good to go. So both of these are going to get yeeted and we're going to get brand new terminals, I guarantee you, on this car. On the positive side, again, I'm probably going to up the wire size on here and clean all this terminal up. This is just absolutely awful. In emergency, these terminals will help you get you up and down the road, right? If you break your old battery terminal and you need to get going. I mean, these will work, but I only look at these as a temporary stopgap. So for now, we'll just use these battery cables just as a temporary measure. Test out the rest of the chassis electrical. We'll build a shopping list of what all we need on the electric side, and then we'll start repairing it. All right, the battery's hooked up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lights. Oh, that classic 1970s door buzzer still works. Good. Check out the lights. All right, well, our headlight switch works. At the very least, both headlights work. Let's go ahead and click on the high beams. Oh, all right. We'll take that. High beams work as well. Excellent. So our headlights work. Let's go ahead and turn on some marker lights and see if any of those light up. Hazards do work. So this is the right front fender marker light. We're going to test to see if this works. When you're turning, this should stay, it might pulse, but I think a lot of these older cars, I think they just stay on when you're turning. There might be a marker light in here too. We're going to have to take a look at that right quick. Let me turn the right turn signal on and see if this thing lights up. And it does not. Absolutely nothing. Okay. How about the other side? Left side. Aha. Okay, this one does work. So that's normally when you're turning, that's what it's supposed to do. But I'm fearing we've got a marker. It looks like there might be a marker light in here too. Let's take the lens off just for funsies and see if there's a bulb in there. There should be a side marker light always lit up. Aha. There is indeed a secondary bulb in here, and oh my goodness. Let me get a light for you guys. It's just one of those slightly ever burned out types. Well, there's the bulb. The socket's still in there. So we're definitely going to have to revisit that. Just mark that down on the to-do list. That's a pretty big bulb for the turn bulb in there. Wow. I didn't realize these turn bulbs are so flippin' big. Check that out for an odd bulb. Also, I almost forgot these little buggers. These are fender turn indicator lights. As you can see, that one is most definitely not working. We got a right turn on. So you can see the right fender light is also not working. As for the back, we have no marker light on the left side. We also have no tail lights. We might have brake lights. May check that out in a second. Okay, that's left side. Yep. And the right side. Yes. Well, 1 out of 2 bulbs. But the circuit does work. That should mean we got brake lights. Alright, very good. I should note that our license plate light is right there. It is not working. And it looks like the right rear marker light is also in up. Well, now that we know what all is wrong on the outside of the car, let's turn on the inside of the car and see which lights don't work. I noticed right away we don't have any lighting going on, but I don't know if there's any lights in the bottom footwells. I'll have to take a look into that. But our dome light does not work. Okay, that's wonderful. As for the instrument panel, it is completely dark. The cold light does work, as we've previously known. But I got the lights turned on, as you can see. There, I don't know if you can see them very well. There's 4 illuminated bulbs here that's supposed to light up. It's kind of like a BMW Mercedes, where it's actually outside and it casts a light onto the actual gauges themselves. But as you can see, it is just all dark in here. So we have instrument problems, marker light issues. Now all this could be solved by a fuse. We're just simply seeing what's all wrong with the electrical first. Then we'll get into diagnostic and fixing it. So no instrument lights. I will say when the car is running, I did notice the amp meter. It was on the charge side, and I've confirmed it with a voltmeter. So our amperage gauge does work. However, our fuel gauge, if you guys are asking about that, that does not work. One thing I also got to add, when the ignition is on, we don't have an oil pressure warning light popping off. That should be on. We also have a brake system and a high beam. I wonder if our high beam actually works. Light, indicator light. Hey, it does. All right, well, that's good to know. As for our turn signal, that's our left. It's dark. The right one does work, okay? So we'll definitely have to be pulling the dash out and looking at all those little fun light bulbs and see what's going on in there. Continuing over here, we have our clock, which doesn't seem to work. And when you pull it out to adjust your time, the mechanism feels really stiff. This thing's probably frozen in time. I can only rock it between there and like right about there. So clock's pretty much an op, but we're not gonna have to worry about that anytime soon. We'll go ahead and bypass that one for now. It's non-critical. See if our wipers work. Oh, hey, look at that. Okay, wipers do work, and they're actually pretty smooth. I want to turn that off. Well, parking feature still works on them. As for the sprayer, your washer fluid, oh, I hear it making noise. So actually our washer system, at least electrically, is all intact. Excellent. And of course we already have our lights. Ooh. You all hear that? Ooh. Oh, that feels incredibly crusty. Won't be surprised if we're switching out a light switch on this thing. Alright, I'm just turning the headlights off, let the battery recharge. Alright, so that's pretty much our lightage. Only half the lights seem to work on this car. Next big thing is the radio. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'll probably end up putting an aftermarket radio, not in the face panel. Probably stuff in the glove box hidden away. But we don't have any radio. This is the HVAC now. So the fan's supposed to be from low, medium, and high. There's absolutely no blower fan. And if we turn on, even if we turn on the heat, doesn't look like we're going to have anything there either. So front blower fan does not work. And you might be saying to yourself, ooh, what's that? That's a rear defroster. And this is back before they had heated grids on the glass. It's actually another blower fan that actually blows hot cabin air from the back up onto that window. Oh, crikeys, and it does work. So that's low setting. Turn it to high. It does kick it on high. I can feel it. There's plenty of wind coming from there. Excellent. Okay, so we don't have front defroster, but we have rear defroster. I guess that counts. Going on our two switches here. I think this one is the power antenna. This one's the map light. Oh, well, at least the map light works. Go ahead and turn off that. Now let's see if the power, I think that's the power antenna switch. Let's see if that bugger works. The power antenna is right there. Let's go ahead and see if that thing pops up or not. If I can find my switches. There we are. Nope. Absolutely nothing. Antenna staying put. No, these don't turn on when you turn on the radio. This is old school enough. It still has a manual switch. Right then, so no blower heater, no instrument lights of any kind. We got quite a lot of work to do on the electricity part of the program. As for the power seats, looks like we don't have much by up or down, I would guess. Look at that, though. That works. That switch is completely dead. That's dead too. Oh, well, that raised it up a bit. Now I can't lower the seat. Oh, good. So the seat's quasi works. And if I remember right, all the windows do work. We'll just verify that. I think that one might need some help. Oh, this one might be working. I think the tracks are going to need some cleaning. Obviously, I did get them down, so they do quasi-work. Driver window seems to work kind of-ish. That's going to need some serious help, though. Driver or passenger side, passenger front. Oh yeah, that's gonna need some help too. So electrically speaking, the windows do technically work. The mechanisms are all gunked up, and I'll have to revisit that in another episode. We have a whole interior cleaning episode as well as the ceiling. So what I'm thinking is we're going to probably clean those window tracks up on a different episode. Because I have just one or two electrical issues with the car, we're going to go ahead and verify that all the fuses are indeed hot and make sure we're not missing anything there. When doing stuff like this, when you got electrical problems, go to the simple source first if it's not working. In this case, it's the fuses. So this is, I'm not sure what half of these are, but we'll go ahead and test them. Okay, hot on both sides. That fuse is good. And that fuse is good there. Ooh, that one's not working. That's interesting. The key is on. Okay, so we got one dead one up there. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. That one's good, and that one's good. This one's our heater. So it looks like our heater has, in theory, has power, at least up to the switch. This guy here, 5 amps, it says it might be accessory or LPS instrument lamps. Huh. Apparently that one's not working. Oh. You know, when we were driving this car back, I had a problem with the electric door locks popping on and off. And I think Trans Am and I tried to pull a fuse out, if I remember right, to get it to stop. And I think we need to actually have a fuse in here. That might be part of the problem. Let me go grab a fuse right quick and see what lights up or not. Okay, that's just a 20 amp fuse. No snap, crackle, or popping. It's got power there. Okay, now we got power on that side. I don't know what circuit that is. I mean, there's writing on here. It says stop up here, miscellaneous on here. I don't know. I'm just going to pull the lights and see if anything else pops up. Oh, there we go. Well, apparently, when I pop that fuse in, now I've got power coming up to here, which is a 5 ampere. I think it might say accessory or instrument panel lights. Oh, do we got instrument panel lights? Let's take a look. We got more power now. All the fuses got power. Hey, look at that. We got instrument lights back. Let me go ahead and turn the knob here just to see if the dimmer works. Oh crackies, it does. All right. I still might replace that switch. I'm gonna turn the shop lights off and see how bright that lights up. Kind of curious to see how bright they are. Lens flare, anyone? It's fairly dark in my shop. The sun's about to set, so we still have a little bit of lightage, but outside. But yeah, excellent. We got the lights inside the cab. Let me show you guys what else I have found out. Turning off all the shop lights, I noticed that, hey, we got a marker light. Now we have our tail light circuits on. And would you look at that? We even have our license plate light back. One thing I forgot to do is check our reverse lights. See what that does. All right, we do have a backup light, all right. Yeah, okay, well, 1 out of 2. But that means the whole transmission circuit all the way back here is telling it to work, which means that over there probably just has a burned out bulb. So if you guys remember, we don't have a front blower fan. Well, you can see right here, this connector had a nuclear meltdown. This is probably why we don't have a front blower fan. We'll test that in a little bit when we're ready to put stuff back in, working on the HVAC side, but yeah, something got a little hot in here at one point. We pretty much have the same situation on the headlight switch. We've got a lot of plastic melted here. This connector is just floating around now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna at the very least replace a couple of connectors underneath the instrument panel. First I gotta plug the battery in though. Ugh. Testing the radio first. Here's our power. So we got 12 volts. Go ahead and plug that portion in. Indeed, we're receiving power on the other side. Go ahead and plug in the speakers. I have a funny feeling this is not going to work. And turning it on. Yeah, it's dead. So what I'll do for now is I'll mount it back in the dash so the dash looks nice and clean where it belongs. And then if I ever get a wild hair of actually sending in this into someone who knows how to rebuild these old radios, we have a few in our area, I might do that. Honestly, I'm not surprised with a 50-year-old radio. I'm sure all the capacitors have leaked out their electrolyte and have long since passed their expiration date. Let's take a look at the power antenna at the very least, just for funs. So I took the liberty of pulling up the power antenna wiring. This is our power antenna switch right here. I thought because the terminals were a lot smaller, it would go through a relay, but it doesn't. As you see, we got terminals 1 through 3, and these two go directly to the motor connector. Now I know exactly where that wire is just looking around off camera. Let's go ahead and unplug this, and we're going to apply 12 volts to this terminal, which basically goes directly to the motor. And we're going to see if the motor does indeed actually work. And if it does, that means there's something wrong on this side. So these two little buggers, terminals, go to the motor. I'll get my jumper cables right quick. All right, let's see what works. Oh. We'll make one noise in that direction. See what noise it makes in the other direction. Oh, it moved. So that's down. So this is up. That motor sounds really tired. Either that or this thing's really stuck. So what I'm going to do now is just get some PB Blaster and lube up the telescoping mast here, and hopefully that'll get it to go up and down a little bit better. Make sure you clean the mast with a dirty rag. All three sections appear to be nice and straight, so that's probably not the issue. Found something better than PB Blaster, I think. Silicone spray. See if that works. Alright. See what that does. Wow, goodness. Because the mass is still running up and down so slow, even though I did a little bit to lube it up with absolutely zero results, we are going to go ahead and simply ignore the power antenna. Now, we know it kind of works. Unfortunately, repairing this, you gotta go up underneath the fender and unmount it and tear it all apart, and that's gonna be beyond the scope of this episode. But we know it quasi works. So taking a look at our power antenna switch, we do have power to it. Okay, that's signal for either going up or down, terminal 3, and terminal 1 is here. And again, we do have the command to go up and down on both terminals, and we do have power on our middle terminal. What I'm going to do is test the other side where these wires end to make sure there's full continuity between the power up and power down wire going out underneath the hood, making sure that the little rodents haven't chewed that up and ruined the integrity of that wire. First of all, grab your voltmeter. Make sure you've got continuity on said voltmeter. We do. It's a healthy sound. These two wires are connected to that terminal out there. These are 10-foot alligator lead clips I just simply wrapped around outside of the car. So I can actually test continuity while just sitting in here and just chilling with you guys. So we'll grab our red wire that's hooked up to one of them. And with the other one, yes. So terminal 3, that signal is definitely getting out to the motor. Grab our green one, that's our other up-down power wire. We're going to test the other terminal, making sure that's got full continuity. And indeed it does. That means that our command to go up and down, our power up and power down, that signal is actually getting to the motor. And because that mast antenna has such a high drag, high amount of amperage, because it's crushed in and needs an overhaul, I'm sure, and doesn't have any lubrication left in it, I'm suspecting that this switch is simply incapable of throwing that much amperage out there. It's unnecessary, and it's probably not built to throw that much amperage out there. Why we don't have a pop fuse because that motor's dragging so much, I don't know. But at the very least, that motor needs to be, the whole assembly needs to be overhauled. Possibly the switch too, if it's half burned out. I'm not sure if it is. We know the power antenna mast is primarily at fault. It's too grimy and sticky and refuses to go up and down. So we will revisit the power antenna system in a completely different episode on a completely different day that's yet to be determined. Right, on to the next item. The heater blower fan. Using our Hot Mess Express of a connector, Oh, I quickly realized that we do not have any hot wire. No hot wire whatsoever. And the test light still works. Just curiosity, let's back probe this just to make sure that our connectors are not completely melted off. No. All circuits are dead. Right, let's bust out the manual and see what we got. So what we need to do first is start at the top and verify we have power to the head unit first. So I have chased down the wire, and wouldn't you know it, there's a fuse. Let's take a look at this fuse. And the camera went out. You broke my camera! 10 points for people who know what that one is. So I chased the wire down. Looks like the wire piggybacks off the ignition switch. There's a fuse here. See what that bugger looks like. Oh, what do you know? It is broken. Well, that's not satisfactory, now is it? Let's see if we have power here at the very least. Aha, we do. Okay. Let me go grab another fuse. We'll put one in and see if it pops right away. Okay. Let's test the circuit now. Okay. So now we should have power to the blower switch. Now that the fuse is plugged in. Oh, look at that. We got power now. Now let's test our blower fan connector switch. Now with this system in this car, this is a low, medium, and high fan. There's 3 selections here. There is no off button on the switch. It is actuated through the push button here. We have positions of off, max AC, AC, heat, and defrost. So any one of these buttons should light up this wire going to the switch to tell the fan to turn on. Now we have it on off. As you can see, our test light is dark, so that's a good sign. So we should be able to push these 4 buttons and we should have power coming from the connector that's supposed to go to the fan switch. Indeed we do. That's off. That's regular AC. Heat. Switch works, yep. And the defrost works. Excellent. So that means when we're pushing all these buttons, it's telling, we know we have a command to turn the fan on low, medium, or high, depending on what the switch is. Let's go ahead and plug our blower fan switch on. And still nothing. Marvelous. All right, well, let's test if we have power here. Yeah, we still got power. Pushing all the buttons. So still got our command. I wonder. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All 3 of these prongs have power. That's a bad thing. Why is that a bad thing? Well, it means that we probably have more rodent issues. Again, this is going to the blower motor resistor. Yeah. Each 3 of these terminals have power. That's bad. Why? Well, the switch is a 3-speed switch. Low, medium, and high. That's what you're supposed to have. And right now we're getting 12 volts to everything, which means that blower motor resistor is saturated with 12 volts and it's not going anywhere. Let's take a look at the diagram and see how come all 3 of our speeds are lit up right now and nothing is happening. Looking at our diagram, or if in case I lost you guys, what are we doing? We're trying to get the blower fan to work. This is our head unit here. This is the red Hot Mess Express connector. That may or may not get replaced. I'm having trouble finding it. This is our fan connector. that goes to the switch. This is the connector, not the actual switch itself. This is just the connector. And we have the blower motor resistor over here. This is where the magic, your low, medium, and high speed settings are at. Okay, when you have resistors in line with your electricity, this is going to slow that electricity down, so it slows the fan down. And that output goes out to here, down to here, and goes over to the actual fan. Technically, this is the fan connector switch, but this is output that goes to the fan. So what's going on? Why do we have 12 volts going to our connector and the fan's not running? Well, let's follow this right quick and see what's going on. We have resolved the no electricity going to our head unit. This is where the fuse was. So now electricity is free to flow in here. When we push our buttons, you saw the lights turn on and off. That's the two 12 volts that come out of the head unit to feed the rest of the circuitry. So pushing our buttons to heat, air conditioning, defrost, whatever, it automatically sends 12 volts to here to a low fan default speed. Okay, that's 12 volts that comes out of here, one side of the red connector, goes all the way over to your blower motor resistor. That's how you get low speed. It goes through all these resistors and outputs. The other 12 volts, when we push on the buttons, it also gets fed over to this side of the blower motor resistor circuit. This goes to a time delay relay. Don't worry about that. That's air conditioning stuff. That has nothing to do with us for now. So basically 12 volts is getting pumped in this blower motor resistor block, but I'm suspecting when we go down here in the engine compartment, I bet you we have some damage to our wires from rodents of unusual size that have severed this line. No load in your circuit means you got no amperage. So if you have an incomplete circuit, that 12 volts that's saturated in here is going to be fat, dumb, and happy because it doesn't have anywhere to go. Let's take a look under the hood and see if we can find a severed wire that goes to the blower fan. So this is our fan connector, right? This one's what we're after. And these two, I think one goes to the AC clutch and the other one goes to the time delay relay, which is that funky looking thing. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, there you go. Ornery little buggers. Got 3 wires in here they chewed off. One of them goes to the air conditioning. This goes to the same colored wire. So that's our fan output from our blower motor resistor. I don't know what this brown wire is. So where do these wires hook up? Well, remember, this is our output that comes through the firewall grommet. The entry-exit point is buried all the way underneath the heater box. This fiberglass heater box. The only way to access that is I gotta drop the inner fender portion off. I also need to drop the inner fender off for the cooling episode on this car. I want to replace the heater hoses. And again, you can only really access these heater hoses by taking this whole fender down and out and get it underneath that heater box. It's really the only way. Lovely. Lower fender come out. Maybe. Well, I'm glad I took the fender off. As you can see, I still have plenty more scrubbing. There's our blower fan and our blower box. These are nibbled off wires in question. If you look right over here, that's where they're supposed to go into the firewall. I also notice that we, along with our busted out wires, we've got at least 3 vacuum ports that are been disconnected manually by rodents. Lovely. Of course, here's the front side. Horns are there. And what you know, yet more junk. So I have some house cleaning to do. I'm gonna clean this up off camera. I'll come right back when we got this all cleaned up, a little bit more accessible. I've officially cleaned up the inside of the fenders. Looking much better here. I also noticed that we have plenty of damage of the wiring on the front end thanks to the little lovely rodents. More obvious one, if you can see that wire, that goes to the fender mounted turn indicator light, which explains why it didn't light up. It explains probably why the other side doesn't work as well. I got one wire that's severed from our turn signal on the right side. That bugger's supposed to be connected over to here. That's just tape. And first indications appear that the horn circuit is intact, at least on this side. And I've got the rear side of the fenders all cleaned up too. You guys want to see some quirky engineering. So this is the power mast for the antenna, all right? Look at its support bracket where that's literally the only thing it's sitting on. Couple of tin screws screwed into the firewall and a screwed jankety arm going around another support arm for the rest of the fender. That's to be honest, that's almost something I would do. So now now that I have all the twigs and nasties, well, allegedly all cleaned out. It's a little bit better. I can work in here. Let's go ahead and work on restoring our heater electrical wires first. Check out the quality of this car. Soundproofing. They even put insulation on the kick panel. Actually quite impressive. That's pretty nice. No wonder this car's so quiet running up and down the road. Alright, so our wires in question are right through here. I don't know if I can tug on that grommet very well. But, considering we're restarting wires anyways, let's see if I can... Oh, excellent. Well, those wires just pulled right out of the grommet. Heat shrink tubing installed. Turn the heat up a bit more. Come on. Much better. Excellent. If you can, with a project like this, try to use heat shrink tubing when at all you can, if you can get your hands on it. Don't get the 2-to-1 heat shrink ratio. You want the 3-to-1 heat shrink ratio if you can get it. Basically, it shrinks a lot further and contours to the wires a lot better, and it's a much thicker sidewall. Better for insulation. Okay, so I'm going to wrap these up, and I'm going to try to stick it through the firewall, which hopefully won't be much of a problem, but we'll see. Well, I'm out of PV blaster, so we'll just use a little bit of silicone here to help things along. Oh, this is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, this is not going to go good. good. I think what I might do is snip them at a 45-degree angle. That might work a little better. Oh, I think it's going through. Yes. Yes. I'll pull it through the other side right quick. Snudge it up. I'm gonna guess these wires may go on top of the vent here. I'm not quite certain. Oh well. All right, back under the hood. And I got the wiring restored on the underhood of the car, coming from the firewall, going back up into the original factory wiring. Now that I have reconnected the wires from inside the cab back up to the factory harness, let's go ahead and see if the blower fan works now. All right, here goes nothing. Yes. All right, so that's low speed, medium. Okay, and turbo speed. All right. We got blower fan, we got all 3 speeds back. And it smells right nasty. I got some cleanup to do, I guess, in the vents. This switch is a little, you gotta wiggle it to get your speeds. So at the very least, I think I gotta replace a blower switch, which is, I'll do that off camera. That's really easy to do. But there you go, all 3 speeds are working. So these switches should work too. That's off, max AC. Yep. Air conditioning. Yep. Heat works. And defrost. Cool. So all modes of heating and air, turn the fan on and off. Brilliant. So how this system works is quite easy. Our source vacuum from a manifold comes into the vacuum reservoir, and then the vacuum comes down into the connection port where it hooks up to our control unit, and when we're calling for heat, that vacuum source then gets piped over to the vacuum regulator control, which is you want it warmer, you want it colder selection switch. It's infinite variable temperature, right? And then from there, it lets a regulated vacuum, a certain amount of vacuum, to come into the water valve, which is your heater control valve, and it will open and close it according to how much you have this warm or cold. Fairly simple operation. Again, it's good to have a good diagram book to show you this. That's defrost mode, it's air conditioning mode, and that would be max AC, which as you can see is not even, which as you can see just turns off all of your hot water. You cannot command it to turn on. So that's how it is. Pretty basic. The vacuum lines I would like to restore are these ones. Now we're only going to restore 2 out of 3. The third one goes up to this timer delay relay when you kick on the AC. Again, we're just scrubbing that. We don't have to worry about that. So the only 2 lines we're going to restore is the line that goes from the reservoir into our control panel, and the other line would go to our heater control valve, which controls how much hot water goes into the cab. Maybe I'll push it out the other way. Alright. That works. Oh, there is no hose barb. It's just rubber and rubber. Actually, I kind of like that idea. This might need some persuasion. You know what? That's it. Oh, look. That works. Don't want to ruin my lovely dainty carpet. No, no. Nay, nay. Okay. Slowly work it in there. Wow. That is really... I'm going to go around the other way. There we go. There's one. 2 of 3. You ornery bugger. It's going to be fun trying to restore those Lincoln town car vacuum lines. This is any indication of how it's going to go. Oh. Number 3, out. I plugged up that third hole, just squirted some silicone in there. Let's go ahead and feed some new lines in. Should help it ease it in. Okay. So this one is going to be your heater control valve, and this goes to the time delay relay. Already looked on the schematics and found the T, and that's where that is. So that's how I know what that is. I would recommend saving these. You never know when you're going to need them. And this little humdinger goes to your vacuum supply line. Technically to the vacuum reservoir. Actually, we can use that hose barb. So small one on there, goes a small one on here. Like thusly. And the big one, I'm gonna have to get a hose barb for that one. We'll just connect those two up right quick. Alright, so both our vacuum lines have been reconnected on the inside of the car and through the firewall. Let's button up the outside. There you go. Okay. So now we got both the engine source hooked up as well as the feed line going from the reservoir to our push button control panel. Now for the heater control valve tubing. Let's see here. About there's to do, I think. And that will go there, but before I plug it in, I like to test our heater control valve and see if it works. Or at least see if the vacuum diaphragm's still holding. So all we're doing is testing to see if that diaphragm holds air. Or rather, holds a vacuum. Indeed. It does hold a vacuum, which means that diaphragm is still holding after all these years. Kind of amazing. Sweet. So now that we have our vacuum lines restored, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is the oil pressure idiot light. So why isn't our oil pressure light working? Well, I knew since day one, it's got a severed wire. The way these systems work, when you have the key on inside the cab, that bulb in there has got a constant 12 volts feeding it all the time. How that light turns off is by grounding.
Okay, if you got 0 oil pressure, this is grounding out to the engine block, therefore grounding out your bulb and causing it to turn on because the 12 volts on the other side is always on, right? You have 0 oil pressure here, it adds the ground to turn the light bulb on. When you're building up pressure, this removes the ground, therefore the bulb only has 12 volts going to it and not a ground, so it's an incomplete circuit, therefore the bulb doesn't light up. So we're going to put down new wire going to the sensor. We're also going to remove the old sensor and put the new sensor in. Remind you, this is plastic here. Being 50 years old, plastic gets old and brittle. What happens? It breaks. Well, if this breaks, you're going to get 60 psi of engine oil spraying all over. Engine oil pressure is going to go to 0, and you're not going to have a fun rest of the day. I can guarantee you that. Alright, now that our sensor's in there, let's go ahead and take a look at the wiring. Looks those furry rodents gave me just enough. I can tie onto it without getting into the harness. Just barely. Alright, we are tied back on to the harness. Let's go get it weatherproofed. Now that we have a new oil pressure sensor and the wiring has been restored, let's take a look and make sure that we have the ground signal now coming to our instrument panel. So I have my voltmeter hooked up to a known good ground. We're going to test to make sure we got ground continuity. I'm just going to use the ignition switch right here because it's most convenient. Okay, so we got a known good ground. Now if we take our instrument panel connector, we're going to test pin 8, which is the middle lower one here, to see if we have good ground. Yes, we do. We do have a good ground, which means that light should light up now if the light bulb's not burned out. Excellent. So now let's cross that off the list and move on to the fuel gauge. A lot of you guys were asking about that.
Now, said issue was originally on the original center unit, there's a clamp here with a ground strap. Well, I forgot to put the ground strap on. But instead of trying to wrap a ground strap around here, I think I got a better idea on how we can ground out the whole tank so we can get an accurate ohm meter reading from the fuel sender.
What I'll probably do is rub the paint off here, then put a ground strap from here to the end of the bumper on the chassis. That should provide a solid enough ground. Obviously, I'm going to have to clean all that up. But at least the ground strap will be serviceable, and I don't have to worry about it falling off underneath the car. I can just have a quick visual and see in the future if there's anything wrong with it. That's where to check your ground strap at. Well, I've got the strap installed. Fairly easy. I was able to scrub a lot of the rust out of here. So now that we got it all secured, let's go ahead and hop back in the car and verify that we have a signal now coming from the tank. We have a good ground wire. This is connected directly to the battery. Now we're going to ohms test on that blue wire that comes into the cab. We should get anywhere between
75 and 10 ohms if the sensor is reading correctly. I can't remember which one's empty and which one's full. So we'll just go ahead and send it. And look at that, it works. We have 77 ohms, so 75 or 80 ohms or whatever, that is true empty. Before we put the instrument panel back into the dash, there's one more crucial piece of equipment that I want to check. This is your instrument voltage regulator, your IVR. What this does is this converts 12 volts from your battery, steps it down to 5 volts pulsed current that goes to your instruments. For our Chrysler, the only gauge that's driven off the IVR in this particular case is the fuel gauge. What this system inherently does, since it's pulsed 5 volts, it makes the gauge, instead of driving up and down the road real time, sloshing, seeing the gauge go up and down, what this does is it only sends a pulse out maybe every half second or so, 5 volts, and then drops it back. And that allows the gauge to act lethargic, so you get a steady reading even though you're driving up and down a bumpy road. We want to make sure that this works before I put it in the dash and realizes it doesn't work and I got to pull it out again. But there are two different ways that we can test that this works. Number one, we'll take our digital voltmeter, ground it out, then we'll turn the key on, then we'll turn the ignition on. And we should get 12 volts going to the regulator. And yes, we do. And the output should be pulsed 5 volts. Okay, you see that voltmeter bouncing up and down? Believe it or not, that means it's working. Again, it bounces it around. It gives it a 5 volts every, I don't know, looks like about half a second. You might say 6 volts and 3 volts and 7 volts. But basically that means that regulator is turning on and off, and relatively speaking, it's about 5 volts when you average the 2 volts and the 3 volts against the 7 volts. The average is correct. It is 5 volts. So this instrument voltage regulator is working. Another way I can show you guys how it's visually working is you can grab an LED and test it that way. So there's your pulse. So it's pulsing on and off as it should. Excellent. That means it's working properly. So now that we know that it's working, let's go ahead and start filling up the fuel tank and see how well our gauge reacts now. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There we go. That's fine. Yeah, that's not oaky at all. Get it? Wood joke. No, never mind. Let's see what happens. All right. Question is, how far will it go? Wow, we're really close on the halfway mark. Looks like it finally stopped, it's not moving anymore. So I actually predict about half a tank, and it's almost spot on. Now the only true test is when we take it to the fuel pumps and actually fill it all the way up if full mark is full. But if it is, that low E means we still have about 5 gallons usable left. It's good to see that working again. We're definitely going to need this on this sailboat. To show you how brittle these cables are, the insulation you can literally peel off. And there's your bare copper wire. That's how old these wires are. Who needs insulation? So this portion we're going to work on replacing the battery tray, cables, starter, and our stuck lamp over here, which is accessible as soon as I drop the inner fender off. So for this side, we're going to replace the battery tray, 2 cables, the starter, and get rid of this poor pathetic windshield washer tank. Unfortunately, with this washer tank, they don't reproduce this specific size. I think I'm in between years where they do. I think someone might be working on it from what I read on the forums, but who knows. But obviously it's completely junk. We can always set up with the universal one. Highly doubt this thing's gonna come out, but it has to come out. Ooh. No. Oh yeah. No. I'm gonna be bending up my battery tray bracket. That works too. Oh no. One negative cable out. Now that we're under the belly of the beast, we're going to go ahead and remove our starter. Another reason why I wanted to replace these cables, they are very checked, crusty, and falling apart. Don't ruin my transmission lines. Oh, it goes way over here. Okay. So this is the old starter, the famous Hummingbird gear reduction starter. I thought about sending it in and getting rebuilt. In fact, I even had my rebuild guy take a look at it, and he was already been concerned that someone's been in here because one screw is orange, one screw isn't. So someone has been in here before. The problem with these starters is they've gotten so old, they haven't casted them in 20, 30 years. A lot of the aluminum starts to deteriorate the casting, and everything just becomes so sloppy and worn out, they become unrebuildable. There have been a few people who have refurbished them and gotten them going again, but they rely on new old stock parts, and almost those are all gone, it seems. So I came at a crossroads. Chance it and having getting this rebuilt, because as you heard in some of the previous videos, the starter likes to hang up when it's retracting, that sound. I have two options: rebuild it, attempt to rebuild it, or we can get an aftermarket unit, which is what this guy is. Now, to be honest, I really love the old style. I love that gear reduction sound, and it's just, you just can't beat it. It's unique to Mopar, right? So with the old starter, it's kind of like the old, old tractor technology. It's old, yes, it works. I don't mind old stuff, but I decided for fun, we're going to upgrade to the newer style. The older style, the few disadvantages of them are is they spin slower. Instead of needle bearings or bearings in general, which is what these modern ones use, these use an old bushing style, so you have more drag. Also, where the Bendix gear starter system is, this shield is actually removable, so water and debris and junk can get into the Bendix drive and cause stuff to prematurely slow down or fail or just give you a whole bunch of guff. Versus the newer style, it has bearings all the way through. Obviously, better magnets, better design. And also, the drive gear starter is actually fully sealed, so there's less junk to get up in there. Now, with that being said, I am not going to throw this out. We will throw this on the shelf. In case someday I get enough parts, we can actually put the original starter back in. But in the meantime, while I hunt down some of those new old stock parts, which can be quite problematic, or at least assess to see if this casing is even rebuildable,
In the meantime, we will just simply use the aftermarket newer style. Supposedly these newer ones, they can break off of the tip right here. I've never used these mini styles before, so this will be interesting to see how long these last. One thing before you have to install it is you have to replace the electrical connector back here. This will be literally right up against the engine block, like less than 1/4 of an inch gap, as you see in this photo here. Having that bolt right next to the engine ground when that big stud is your hot, that's several hundred amps that can flow directly short out to your block, and that is way too dangerous. But there is a solution. So what we do is we remove the connector that originally comes with the aftermarket starter, and we have bought ourselves one of these relocation kits. You can buy them on eBay. Well, they're about $20, $25. Not terribly expensive. And we simply unbolt this and put this in here. So instead of the studs going right up in the engine block, it shoots it out sideways so we can easily clamp onto it. So let's go ahead and swap them out right quick. That one's taut. They're too taut. Are we having a good time out here? No, I am not. This project has been going on way too long, just like my service rig. That's not even 1/4 of an inch. Oh, brilliant. Let's see here. This one? No. Oh, for goodness sake. One potatoes. Can I have a give a 2 potatoes? We will not be needing this. But we will be using this. Fits like a glove. Perfect. ½ inch. Yes. Okay. Now I don't know if this cover's supposed to go on next. Oh, yeah, it has to go on next because you can't tighten the bolts down otherwise. Oh. No? Yes? Okay, I think it'll slide on. It's a bit taut. Oh, let's see here. What do we got? Goes down low. No, is this the right? Because I got the original one that came with. Is this one a little bit deeper? Oh, this one is deeper. Okay, so the one that came with the aftermarket kit, I think it's too shallow. The one that came with the starter itself seems to be a little bit deeper, possibly. Seems to want this clamp right there. The one that came with the remote kit is just a little off. So when we go and do this, don't throw away the new parts quite yet. That just clamps down a lot easier. Okay, well, fair enough. Don't like how it hooks right here and down here, right? Those two areas, but well, it's hooked enough. Should be okay. There we go. Anywho, one mini starter relocation kit successfully installed. We'll go ahead and ploop that back in the car right now. Pivot. Come on, dum-dum. Huh. I think I got some more homework to do. It doesn't want to evenly flush up. Oh, there it goes. Oh, wait. Just gotta find the right sweet spot. Oh, to have a lift in a shop. Oh, to have a shop big enough so I can install a lift. That's it. I can't remember if... Full disclosure, I stopped recording this to get my service truck going. You know, it's like a good 6-8 months later, we're getting back into the New Yorker, and I'd be honest, I don't remember where I left off. It's taken me a few days to stare at it and figure out where I'm coming from here. So you just gotta bear with me. Oh, yes. Oh, isn't this fun? Isn't this exciting? How many viewers have we dropped off now? This video is coming up on an hour-ish, I think. Probably most of the viewers dropped off, so hey, you know, full-length video. Peeps, shout out to you guys. The faithful troopers. Oops. Through trials and tribulations, we will try not to bump the camera anymore. Oh, can I just get this? Oh, barely. You know what? I got a socket and ratchet. Why am I... Hush. Especially you in the back row. I used to sit in the back row. I still prefer to sit in the back row. That's where all the fun is, right? Come on. And we're not torquing this down to 80,000 foot-pounds. We're just snugging her up. And I did make sure that the mating surface is mating perfectly with the flywheel, or the bell housing. And I can't get enough leverage on here to get it really tight anyways, so I have to keep an eye on it, I suppose, but it'll be alright. Again, sorry for the poor camera work, guys, but apparently people like to see a lot of different angles and stuff. There we go. Okay, we'll see how long that starter lasts. Fly me to the moon. Should be flying when we get this card going. Oh yeah, that was nice and taut. So this is with the new starter and the relocation kit. As you can see, we have a lot more elbow room to drape our electrical connectors from the top downward and around. Much safer. I feel a lot safer that won't short out, knowing my luck. It would. So that's what a relocation kit would look like.
Now working on the battery holder bracket and my frozen bolt. Just remember one thing, it can't be frozen if it's a liquid. There we are. Now we got that bit sorted out. Time to go from phase 1 to phase 2. And as for you, you need to go into the scrap bin, get melted down, and come back, and hopefully do a little bit something more with your life instead of being a nuisance to me, said my family. That looks much better.
Battery tray brackets. Bracket. Looks like that'll work just fine.
Much better.
Sorry about the poor lighting. I don't know where my other thingy is at. Where is my other thingy? Everything now is migrated from the shop to the service rig, and then from the service rig it comes back in here, and it is Oh, this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. Right. What we have here is a brand new battery tray. Someone, somewhere, is still stamping these things. And thank goodness that they are at that. Fantastic. It's starting to look fabulous. Yeah, that might work. Well, I think I like how that pretty much sits, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything down. All right, there we go. One new battery tray installed and refurbished battery bracket. The environment around us is a little bit different because I actually pulled this car out of the shop already. So, spoilers, I already know how well it starts up. But I will explain why I did that at the end of this video. Alright. I wish I made this guy a little bit longer. The main ground strap to the body. I wish I ordered it another inch. I didn't realize how tight that was. It should work, but it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for air. In fact, I might actually lop that off on the zip tie right quick. Hindsight, I regret not ordering it up an extra inch longer, but oh well. There you go, that bought us a little bit. Yeah, because it's going to be fighting it. Gosh darn it. Well, I'm not spending another couple $100 on cables. Alright, so now we have our beautiful C-body battery hold-down kit. 1966 and up. This is a 71, so it's definitely in this... wow, I don't even know what I was going to say. It's 66 and up. This is good for this application. There, I said it. And I'm just gonna, yeah. All right. Seems like it's nice and powder coated. Seems all right. Something like that. Now let's get the other hold down hook out. Don't be laying stuff like this, cause so one of my instructors said, the very beginning of electrical, don't be using the battery as a toolbox or a bench shelf. Bench. Or a workbench. You know, he's absolutely right. I've gotten a few good arcs from doing that before, so listen, learn, kids. Don't be using this battery as a workbench. Just saying. Right. Now I gotta figure out... Okay, so that goes through there. Because I don't remember this car when I bought it. I don't remember it having a bracket at all to hold it down. Ah, okay, so that goes in there. Chrysler, why did you have to be so dorky? Oh. All right. Actually, these nuts will actually work great for... Okay, this is the whole kit caboodle. Oh, we are so going to never seize that up. Which we don't have. Hold up. Okay. That a half inch too? Or is that 7/16? 7/16. Okie dokie. Are we even hooked? For real, for real. Come on. I better do the other side right quick too. Alright, hit this up too. Hit the camera. Now you might be saying to yourself, hey, where's your ratchet? That's a good question. It's on the service truck, of course. I like doing things the hard way on this beautiful Sunday. Saturday? Is it Saturday? I don't know. Beautiful late summer afternoon. I meant to say summer, whatever. Definitely not right yet. That's a little loose still. I don't like that. It's a little tighter now. There we go. So let's tighten this thingy down here. So whatchamacallit? The thingamabob for the you-know-what. What about the battery terminals? Yeah.
I follow you guys. I'm following. Now don't torque these 80,000 foot-pounds, please. Just enough so they won't slide around. That's all you need. All you need is love. Right. Yep. Yep. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. All right. Shake your booty. Woo! Sorry. We are applying some CRC battery protectant. Battery terminal protectant. Whatever. Okay. Right. Where's the cap for this Fandangle thing at? Did I have it with me in the first place? Maybe not. Maybe that's still back in the service rig. I don't know. Alright, whatever. Alright. Clear the engine bay. We're going to start this thing up here. So what we'll do now is we'll start the car up. We'll throw in a clip here before showing the old gear reduction type. And afterwards, after we have some bigger, thicker, upgraded battery cables on here, what it sounds like with the newer, improved starter design. Well, still looks like I need to work on my belt pulley system a little bit. Those belts got only 5 minutes of run time on them, so they'll have to be tightened up again. But there we go. How about that? Has been cleaned out. I have scrubbed it all down and put coral seal, but iron oxide paint to help seal and prevent the rust from crawling any further. I still got to put the jacks back and the spare tire back, possibly a floor mat in here. And the reason why I'm showing you this instead of actually doing the work on camera is pretty simple. I basically need to get this car out of the shop pretty fast because things are moving here on the channel. I'll explain that here in another few seconds. So basically the big reason is why I have to button this car up as soon as practicable is I'm prepping it for the new owner. He said he had one just like it. I think he said when he was back in high school, and sounded like he was actually pretty hot to acquire this from me. So as much as I would love to do the rest of the trunk The interior of the car needs reupholstered. I mean, it doesn't, well, it needs it, but you can get away with it. Carpet needs to be torn out because it smells pretty bad if you let it get hot. I'd love to rip out the interior, give it all new interior cleanup, but to be honest, this car still needs a lot of work. A-pillars are pretty heavily pitted in a couple spots, especially on the driver's side. The rear of the rear window all around it needs to be refabbed. And to be honest, I don't have quite those skills yet. I should really start on something more simple, such as floor pans, and I don't mess it up any further. So I figured, you know what, we'll let the new owner take his time, go through it more thoroughly, and make it his. The other reason why I'm eager to get this thing out of my shop is because I have another rescue project actually already coming in. My brother over on the Trans Am hologram channel, yes, he's still around, he has decided to purchase a vehicle, and he wants to see me get it going again. So you could kind of see he's kind of sponsoring me. He bought it, and he wants to put some money into it, and so I'm trying to get this going as well as get it out the door so I can bring in another rescue project, because I really only have one practical slot inside of my shop for the winter time. And here in the Pacific Northwest, it gets really rainy in the winter time, and I'm trying to get this thing going out of the shop so I can pull in another project. So it does run and drive. The Chrysler does run and drive. What we'll do is, before I do get rid of it though, we will do a ride with me video on it. We have a lot of forest fires going on, so unfortunately out of a lot of the forests, the prettier drives might be off limits because it's just smoky and nasty up there. So I'm not sure where we'll drive the car, but in case if it's just around town, it's just around town. But there will be one run and drive for this car before we get rid of it. I'm kind of sad to see it go, but we've got enough other projects already lined up that I don't mind having the new owner taking it and go nice and slow with it and fix it properly, as it should be with these old cars. But I'm happy that somebody's going to take it, and instead of destroying it and pulling the big block out and using a demolition derby, I'm glad it's going to a new home. That's where I want to sell these cars to, is people who are enthusiastic about these cars, who will get them going again, who won't send them to the crusher. Because to be honest, these old land yachts, they don't get any love, and they were stripped of their V8 big blocks and left to rot and go into demolition derbies and get destroyed, and it absolutely guts me. I mean, everyone has their Camaros and their Mustangs and whatnot. What's Dodge? Chargers and Darts and whatnot, but to be honest, luxury land yachts, that's my jam, because they don't get any 11 like they should. And a great family hauler too as well for those long American road trips. So I'm glad to see another one get going that is going to a good home. So the next video, we'll do a run and drive. I don't know when that'll be, because it needs 4 new tires, and that's going to cost $400 to $600 rough guesstimate. So it might be a while before we do a let's ride on this thing. My project, which is here, I recently picked up and teased about. He pretty much broke my budget for the rest of the year. But there will be a ride with me with this car before I release it to the new owner. So in the meantime, thank you for watching. I set out to get it back on the road again. It's back on the road. Awesome. The new owner will have fun taking it from me and keep it going further from there. Really happy about it. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.
What a view. We have a barking dog. Oops.
Sorting out all of our electrical issues, what you want to do is you want to make sure to first. And replace them all with LED. Oh, I forgot I unscrewed that.
We also have a similar story on the heater switch. This is the light switch. No, this is the light plug-in.
And then the power gets distributed to distributed. Wow, I really need to work on that. Cool, that wasn't even recording.
Where these wires connect, this is output. It goes through the firewall. Obviously, this is through the firewall. That doesn't make any sense. Really? I'm out of PV blaster, but we use heavy-duty silicone. The two primary vacuum lines I would like to reconnect. Well, is this gonna be fantastic? Oh, for goodness sake. Get your rear in gear. Come on, really? Clumsy ox. Ignition switch is close enough for ground for me. I don't want both of you to go off at the same time. So right here we got our fuel gauge. Obviously.